Hello, lovelies. How you going? Just getting ready for the interview with Josh Pryor, legend extraordinaire. So give us a couple of moments while we wait for people to come on, if we've got people joining us live. And Josh and I have been chatting and praying to the tech gods that we can make this work. So we'll see how we go, lovelies. Let me just check in. I think I've got to wait for a moment. There we go. Nice. Yes. Send invitation to Josh. Adding. Come on, tech gods, you can do it. He's hoping this works. Hope you're well. We've actually got sunshine here for the first time in 100 years. The guest declined. Let's see what's going on. Hi, Cherie. I'll send the invitation to Josh again. Cross fingers. Like I said, we're praying to the tech gods here. We're a little bit making this up as we go.
There we go.
Let's Josh! Yay!
Did it.
The tech gods are smiling on us.
Yeah. Always. There we go.
Excellent. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, give me 1 second.
Sure.
I'm just going to close the door. I can't quite hear you. Yay! Cool. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, Josh.
That's all right.
Bloody legend.
Do you like the background?
Yeah, cool.
See a paddock.
Nice. Tell us where you are.
Yes, I just pulled up. I pulled off the Pacific Highway to go up to Gloucester, and I was just monitoring reception, and I got about 1 kilometre off the Pacific Highway, and thought, okay, I better stop here.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Beautiful. So yeah, firstly, big welcome.
Timing.
Really appreciate it. Yeah. Perfect. And also, massive congratulations. Spirit of the Matter. If you haven't read
Thank you.
It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's so shockers is what I found. I don't know if you can see, but I've got like little tags, and that's like half of them because I had to take half of them off because it was just ridiculous and overwhelming. And so I just had to, trust that I would find the right things at the right times. One of the things that I love about it, and the reason why I asked you on, and particularly in this group in the Mojo Hub, is because like obviously I do yoga and coaching, right? And to me, this book is like, it's obviously a bucket load of yoga and history of the Mysore style. So Josh, for those who don't know, runs the Ashtanga Yoga studio here in Newcastle. So he's an amazing Ashtangi. He's an amazing teacher. And he's also obviously an author and metaphysics lecturer, and obviously has studied this stuff just like crazy. So the thing about the book I find is it combines that whole yoga stuff, but then why? Like, why would I bother? Like, how does it relate to real life? Like, I think there's lots of texts out there that are how to do yoga or how to do asana, or like the poses of it. But I love the way so if anyone gets it, and if you're not that into yoga, that's totally cool, I think, because it's just interesting, but you always bring it back to really practical, really accessible points that we can apply to our lives. So the reason I wanted to ask you on is because we talk about, I use the word mojo kind of thing. It's like, and to get in touch with the authenticity, and because I think it's just rife that we follow our shoulds. And I think there's just this kind of epidemic of, I don't know, I think it sometimes even goes to the depths of self-loathing in a way, the way that we sort of squash down what we actually want. So that's what led me to invite you on here to talk about in terms of, and one of the things you talk about in here is follow your bliss to the top of the mountain, like using that, following your bliss, like what you want in every single moment. And so I thought that was, yeah, really interesting. If you can take us through that a bit, or what you mean by the top of the mountain.
I'm excited to be in a coaching kind of context as well. Before I was into yoga, I was in business. I was in typical like sales, project management, and IT and marketing sort of roles. And I had a particularly good boss for a while in one of the companies I was working for. He was really into personal development, really into that kind of how to motivate yourself and these kinds of psychological ideas. And it was such a great gift. And when I later on found yoga, I realized that it still stemmed from the same principles, the same ideas. And even when I was when I was about 20, I think I remember reading some classic 60s, positive mental attitude style books. I think we might have talked about that a while ago. There's this kind of wisdom has been going on for a long, long time, especially in the West. It's been going on for at least 100 years in the West. And sometimes it gets attached to spirituality, whether it be like a Christian sort of religion back in the 50s, or a bit more recently, it's yoga and Eastern philosophies. But sometimes it's divorced from all spirituality, and it's just a good idea. A good idea is a good idea. Do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
If something makes you feel good, then that's a clue, right?
Yes. Like you said,
I'm adamant that that this stuff ought not to be too aloof. And when you read some of these old Sanskrit texts, they sound lovely. It's all very, very poetic. And like, oh wow, that's cool. The sun unites with the moon, and the special energy moves up like a snake. And like, wow, that's cool. Anyway, back to work.
Back to work. Yeah. But
that's it. And it's like that's the bridging that is a little bit frustrating to not have bridge. And it manifests in a few different ways. We often in yoga, we kind of wring our hands about how we're also self-obsessed with the physical. We all want to be healthy and have a good yoga butt, this kind of thing. And it's like there's the world of physical yoga, and then there's the world of spirituality, and they really don't blend. Even if you are kind of curious enough and have enough time to do both, to do a vinyasa style practice and do some meditation, they're still somewhat distant from each other. They stay side by side. And you do one at one time and you do another thing at another time, and then maybe you've got a third or a fourth world as well, like family is separate and work is separate. And so they all should be together, or we should be moving in that direction of that unification. So when I read the book, I had that kind of in the back of my mind. I thought, we can do this. We don't have to lose the trippy metaphysics in order to make it practical. We can get in there.
Yeah. Can you give us a quick description of what is metaphysics, if that's a new term for people?
Yeah. So metaphysics is it explores the underlying assumptions about how we interact with the world and the way that we pretend the world is in a really scientific sense. So these are assumptions that are in our culture. We don't get told them when we're a kid, but it's just been going on for hundreds of years, so we just have it. It's only when you go to a different country, like when you go to India or Nepal or something like that you sort of get an inkling of, it's like these guys have all been told something slightly different. There's an underlying assumption that is slightly different, or maybe very different. And so with us being in the West, being in Australia and being Westerners, the underlying assumption for us is that the thing that is the most real is objects, physical objects. This is the most real, and our dreams and the images in our head are rather unreal. They're kind of, it's just imagination. The way that we use that phrasing, it's just imagination. That's just in your mind. Yeah. And so a biologist would say that consciousness is an emergent property of biology or of matter. So that's the assumption that the West operates under, that we're just these really weirdly configured monkeys that have happened to develop self-awareness, you know? And that's cool, and it works. It works for us, you know. Under those assumptions, we build cars and planes and medical technology, and it's really, really cool. It's great. But that's not the only assumption. That's not the only choice that we have. And when you go to India and these places, you'll see other assumptions at play. They can coexist. And you can come from the point of view of, well, consciousness, and that's a word that needs a bit of definition, or maybe it doesn't need definition, right? Yeah. Consciousness, awareness, the mind, the greater mind, is actually the most real thing. And these physical bodies that pop up and down, they are relatively superficial compared to the ever-present consciousness.
Yeah, it's a headband. Hey, like you said, for those of us who were raised in the West, it's just like, like I'm obsessed with it at the moment because, and as you reference in your book, like quantum physics talks about it, neuroscience talks about it now. So, and that's kind of what got me a bit closer to it, and my Western raised mind was going, oh look, there's scientific proof now, but like you said, it's kind of always in yogic tradition.
Suddenly we can respect it because science says so.
Exactly. And I think that's great. Like, I will continue to kind of read that stuff. I will continue to pass that on to other people, because if it makes it more approachable to everyday, like every person every day, then great. It's like you can come and you can study the yogic traditions if you want to, or you can, you know, believe the neuroscience and the quantum physics if you want to, or just start investigating it at least. I think there's just that opening up. But yeah, it is fascinating. Yeah, that's right. Like,
it's not an either or scenario.
Yes.
You can entertain both. You don't have to choose. No one's asking you to choose. You can just be aware that the system that you're in has an assumption, and you can just be aware that there are other choices for those assumptions.
Exactly. Well, but I think that really speaks to most people now. It's like with my coaching clients, and even just with myself, like I'm always coaching myself as well, of course, you know, that's where it starts, is for anyone who just has that feeling of like, I'm not quite on the path. Like, I'm not, you know, that's what I mean. I call it like sitting in my mojo, that kind of, like, I've had period. That's what's led me to this point, is like, I've picked my life up and shaken it like a snow globe to, like you said, to bust open assumptions and that sort of thing. So I think it really is going to resonate with heaps of people because of exactly that. People, and especially now, my God, in a post-pandemic, raging fires, raging floods, tsunamis, like, it's just, you know, and just everything that has shattered. And I think in terms of what you're talking about, the assumption, it's also shattered a bit of that veneer. And it's like authenticity is the only currency now. It's like the veneer is kind of out the window. So, and to me, that comes back to then the authenticity. What do you really want? And as you reference in the book, like, actually your psychic self, but not making this an other thing or an unreachable thing. Like, just what's your dream state? Yeah. So I think
have a think about really, like have a think about the method that you use to go about your daily life. Okay, so you're going to do some stuff in the day. We kind of, if you were asked, so when you make decisions in your life, do you do them rationally? And you would go, well, yeah, of course I do. You know, so does that mean that you have a little conversation with yourself about everything? Maybe. I mean, but no, not really. I mean, you can't. You make 1,000 decisions in a day, maybe 100,000 decisions in a day, but you don't have a little conversation with yourself about them. You may be able to, if you were ever asked, hey, was that a rational decision that you just made? You might be able to go post hoc and go, oh, well, no, it is rational because I was hungry and the potato chips were the closest thing and I just really needed something quickly, so I got those. That was the rational thing to do. But that's not really what happened when you were having that thing. You just reached out and grabbed them. Yeah, you reverse engineering it. Yes, that's right. It's a post hoc rationalization. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
totally.
And yet we just go around pretending that everything we're doing is based on a premeditated, logical train of thought. It's not really the case. It's the same with birds, right? It's the same with animals. No, they're not having a conversation with themselves about whether to do something. They see the worm, they go get it.
No. Yeah, totally. Exactly. And but I also think it's worth
the wind changes.
Pick and choose. Yeah, like we kind of we pick and choose what bits we want to pay attention to, because I would go as far as to say I would guarantee that every single person, every single human being at one point in their life, even if you are the most rational, head-oriented person, that at one point in your life you were like, just doesn't feel right. You know? Yeah. Like just that, it's instinct. Like we mentioned animals, it's like I often call it instinct as well. It's that sort of coming in with the feeling. So I wanted to talk about too, just to touch on it, because I think a lot of the times, you know, if people are new to this kind of way of thinking and this concept is, and like you said, challenging the assumptions that of course I can't change a book, you know, I mean, it's a huge, and if that's sort of too far to go in one leap, you know, that's the matter, and that, you know, the energy, if we're going to talk in, you know, quantum physics in terms, can change it. It's like, sorry, where am I going? I'm rambling. So people, well, oh, sorry, one thing that you wrote in the book.
Well, obviously you desire to ramble, obviously, right? This isn't following your bliss.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, so you said that you might feel it's difficult, and that even this is a voluntary belief. Because I often, like when I'm coaching people, I will often like flag with them and go, there's going to be a point when you're going to hit this huge resistance and it's going to basically hurt. Like, and we're so used to, like, in the way that we're raised, is to run away from some icky feelings and that sort of stuff. So, but when I read that you went like, if you think it's going to be difficult, that this too is a voluntary belief, I was like, what? I was like, can you bypass the difficult stage? This would be revolutionary. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So the difficulty just needs to be tweaked a little bit, just transformed a little bit. There's gravity to it. Whoa, this is a big one. This is a really, really big decision. And we can go, oh, I'm feeling anxiety. No, I have an anxiety disorder. Oh, that's a shame, you know. Or we can transform it in a different way. We can go, wow, it's big. It's got gravity. It's got energy. Whew. It's breathtaking. It may be literally breathtaking, like heart-stopping or heart-racing. And this is
totally
good. We don't want to shun that or pathologize it.
Yes. Love it. And that's where obviously.
And so yoga asana helps us embrace that a bit too, right? Because certain poses in yoga, as you know, like camel is a really, really good one for that. It'll make you a bit giddy, a bit dizzy, all kinds of interesting feelings. And it's a bit shocking how many times people have that experience in camel pose, and you can see in their eyes, I go, oh no, something might be wrong. I think something might be wrong. I'm going to faint, you know. Okay, fair enough. Fainting in the middle of a crowded street is probably a bad thing, but feeling high and feeling like, wow, that's something that happens when you step out to watch the Grand Canyon. It's something that happens when you witness the birth of a child, when you fall in love, all these kinds of things. And we don't have, we have a choice there as to which way we apply meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of, that leads me to another thing is the, you mentioned something about, like practice persistent positivity. Like that's one way to do it. And even with the physical practice, and just to put, I always add the little note in here. It's like, this is never exactly what you've just talked about. This is never squashing the thing down or pathologizing. If you actually feel shit, this is not pretending everything's okay.
Yeah.
But that
it's not toxic positivity. Yeah.
No, exactly. But it's like, in a really, again, I love that you come back always with these practical applications. That is one really simple way. Like if your life's actually going fine and you can actually just scan through the moment and practice positivity. like look for positive evidence, because we are like, I think it's pretty commonly accepted
Look
now,
for
if you
it.
do an
Yeah.
kind of personal development, that the brain will go for survival mode, which is going to look for what's wrong so it can protect you, da 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 da. So but to keep going with that evidence is awesome. And the other thing that I really wanted to touch on too was this the spirit of a play date. I love it. Like, to go into whatever you're choosing to work on with the spirit of like, you're just going in for a play date. If you're like, oh my God, I've got to go to yoga this morning, or I've got to do whatever, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I think that like, it's like I say, playful curiosity in the yoga practice. It's like, but we should have, like, that would be helpful every moment of every day. Play date. It's like, wonder what's going to happen today.
This is what children have, isn't it? This is the great thing about having children or being around children. You get to see them have these fresh in your eyes. Oh wow, everything's new.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And if we lose that as we age, what are we going to do? Why would you want to be alive if you've lost the innocence and the playfulness? Well, we have to follow our bliss.
Totally. And
we have to follow. I was thinking, as I was thinking half an hour ago, the song popped into my head. Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love.
Nice.
Because this is what we want to do, right?
Yeah, totally.
When you're a child, it's enough to walk outside and see the dew on the grass, you know, and maybe that's still a very, very endearing and wonderful thing as an adult as well. But if you could look at maybe a metaphysical purpose for life, it's to find higher blisses, is to pursue your own direction using your own compass, whatever you find attractive to go towards. And just because you might have ticked a few boxes that a Western society says, okay, well, good job, you know, you've got a car, it's a good car, and you've got a house, and you've got a wife and kids, and good job done, very good, you know. And then people maybe don't find the rest of their life as satisfying.
Totally, and exactly. I think that's when most people turn around and go, oh, I sort of had the impression that this would be when I would be happy. Like you said, I've done the tick box things. It's like, gee, what happened? So I definitely want to touch on, because I could talk about this stuff for hours, but I'm conscious that we don't have all afternoon. And I want to touch on when, so when you're sort of saying to these people, do, you know, what the song that I get is do what you want to do, be what you want to be, every time. But anyway, so, and when people go, oh, that sounds lovely, Eric and Josh, that's lovely, but I've got to go to work now. They're like, but
exactly right.
The buts. Yeah, like the but, well, but I've got to do that. And it's so, and you talked about it in terms of
so how do you reconcile that?
Sometimes we have this, what's that?
Yeah, so how do we reconcile that? How do we merge the two together? How do we turn it from being inspirational reading before bed versus real world, how am I going to actually implement this?
Exactly. And I wanted to touch on one of the things again that you mentioned in the book was and I can relate to this, to the sort of the Stockholm syndrome that we sometimes have. Stockholm syndrome being where you actually start to defend your captor. So if we just internalize it all, and so often, like I used to be here, it's like you would defend, and so often it's around money. Like it's like money's our bottom line, and it's just we'll defend. No, but you don't understand, or like, you know what I mean? But you don't understand, Josh. My situation's different because of X, Y, Z. Like I think we often do that, and it's even just some little awareness around that is so helpful to just go, oh, look at that. I'm defending the state I'm in right now, even though I'm looking for, like you said, higher love. Yeah. That sort of, it's crazy. And the big thing, another one, which is sort of really late in the book. Oh, I've got to show that. I love the drawing that you did when you open the top of the skull.
That's my favorite drawing from the book as well.
I love it. I love it so much. It's the opening at the top of the head.
I had every other diagram redrawn by a professional graphic designer except for that one, because I just really liked it.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so glad you left it. It's great. Anyway, it's around that stage of the book that you really talk about, like, because you always refer to the mountain, like when you can see everything from the top of the mountain, and we sort of slowly, as we progress through, getting to the top of the mountain where you can kind of see everything rather than having to choose a thing or have this linear path. And one thing again that I want to link in with the coaching side of things is you've said, we get it back to front a little bit. If you create from the top, all of the details will take care of themselves. And in coaching and personal development, and this comes even from, you know, Tony Robbins, like, who, you know, didn't ever used to talk about spirituality. He does now, but he was definitely like, what's your why? And all of the other hows will take care of themselves.
Yeah. And so I would say that, you know, from the top of the mountain, you can decide and you can choose things quite well. And just one step before that, though, and it goes back to that, how do we differentiate this between, you know, toxic positivity and something more useful and genuine? And it's just a willingness to admit your desire. Even if you don't see a way that you can ever actually have this desire met, and you've got a job, you've got obligations, it's just not possible, you're a slave to your life. But just to have, and this is the bit where it's really hard, right? To look at the world suffering is hard, okay? To go in there and to have true empathy for all these problems, and to have true empathy for yourself and your own sense of imprisonment is hard to do. And yet, if we can admit to ourselves, at this moment, maybe I won't feel this way tomorrow, but at this moment, what I really want to do is I want to quit this, and this, and I want to just go and do that. Even if quitting those things, it would be an awfully immoral thing to do. Don't do them. But just to admit that you want to, and even if the thing that you want is kind of questionable, just to admit to yourself that that's what you're feeling right now. Admit your own feelings into the present moment. That's a huge step. If you start doing that, then like the first, if you're in the habit of not doing that, then the things that come up might be very, very troubling. You might feel like you're going crazy. You might feel like you're a bad person because you want to do all these awful things. It's simply because you've had this, like, you know, decades-long habit of suppression. So if you just start allowing things to pop up, you'll find that they will smooth out. They will become clarified, and ideas and creative solutions will come that maybe give you clues as to how you might be able to start following those paths.
Totally. Yeah. And the things that we call sort of serendipities will actually happen. And I think the only way is to prove that to you. You know what I mean? If you're listening to this and you're like, you can't.
That's right.
Experience. It's like you just have to test it out. Like that's great advice. It's like exactly just allowing yourself to feel how you feel or what you want. It's like that, you know, permission to actually daydream.
And, you know, the first few times you do it, after you've done it a couple of times, you know, you'll quickly, you won't be able to undo it. once you've you know, learned that the feeling that comes with simply just respecting yourself and allowing that honesty to come up, even if you don't act on it. It's a pretty nice thing. And that's self-love, right?
Yeah.
Self-love isn't bubble bath. Self-love is being honest with yourself and feeling.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Satya sounds.
I mean, I don't have a bathtub, so I don't know. Maybe it is bubble bath.
How is the farm going? Is it coming along?
The grass is coming along. The grass is 2 meters high. Last time I saw it. The grass farm.
I'll bet it is. Fantastic. Well, I was going to ask you, like, do you have any, you know, like 3 simple tips that people can actually just practice? But I think you certainly touched on at least one with just, like you said, just admitting to yourself what you want or how you feel. It's like anything else that you would encourage people to do, like in a really practical, it can be yoga, can be not yoga, can be.
There's tons of ways to approach this, but the self-evident thing, the more you apply these kinds of ideas in your own life, and the more you also become a scholar and read about different, you know, spiritual systems, that kind of thing, it becomes evident that it's very simple. Okay, it needs to be simple. The birds don't go to yoga school to learn how to be their best self. They are flying through the air and they can communicate with each other somehow, and they follow the warm currents or the cool currents, and they go up and down, and they just do their thing, and they're really happy with it, you know. And we just, because of this, you know, prefrontal cortex, we get a little bit complicated. Bring it back and be simple.
Yeah.
So one way to represent it, the one that I like and that I use in the book a lot, is the mountaintop metaphor. So the idea is you've got a mountain, and when you're down the mountain, you are kind of smothered by what's around you. You don't have much perspective, much advantage, and all you really see are a limited number of options. You got, I can either eat the chocolate, or I can eat the potato chips, or I can go outside and scream. You know? But if we can do practices, even if the practice is simply just stopping, what is that word? You know, delayed gratification, or patience, or just meditating, breath awareness, this kind of thing. That serves to get us a little bit up the mountain. You know, we resist the urge to punch that guy, and we resist it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then we go, I'm really glad that I didn't, because now I can see more. I can see what would have happened if I punched him, and I can see that what has happened now that I haven't punched him. And I go, that's nice. I see two options, where before there was only one option, and I just had to like pull myself back. These kinds of ideas. It's getting up the mountain. There's no special trick to it. There's heaps of ways to do it. Meditation and yoga are great ones. You taking yourself in the direction of what feels good. Yeah. Admitting to yourself what it is that you truly would like to do, even if you don't act on it, just admitting it to yourself, you know. And then admitting it again, and then again, and then again, an hour later, a day later, a week later, a month later. And then over a period of time, you might go, you know what? In all of my, you know, self-inquiry about what I really, really want, this one thing seems to come up a lot. And maybe it's just a theme that comes up. Maybe it's not always, I want to buy a farm in Gloucester, but there's some like urging to get away from the city, or there's some urging to be with trees. Actually, it's not that I want to get out of the city, because when I'm in Nesca Park, I feel amazing. So maybe it's trees. Maybe I want to become like a tree planter, a professional tree planter, this kind of thing. You've got to go down those journeys. You re-engage your imagination to do that.
Beautiful. I love it. Allow some daydreaming. Allow the space for the mind to wander. And then, like you said, the prefrontal mind will close down a little bit, and then the, you know, what I would call the spirit's going to come up, the mojo is going to come up. Call it whatever you want, but exactly. Letting yourself wander. Beautiful.
Yeah, sense of excitation,
like
sense of desire.
Yes, exactly. It's like, and I think along the journey,
desire is kind of maligned.
Whatever you do.
Have you ever heard someone say that like desire is the cause of all suffering? It's quite a frequently uttered phrase in Eastern systems, right? Yeah. It's very strange though, but like surely thought so the purpose of life is to suppress all desire. That doesn't make sense. It's not desire that causes suffering, it's what we do with our desire that can cause suffering. Yes. If we suppress it, then it's a problem.
Agree. Anytime we're arguing,
you don't have to act on it. You don't have to go out and. Yes, exactly. Yeah. You have to be patient.
That struggle with it. So there we go. Patience.
Use your imagination. The word do a daydreaming. Like, is it okay to daydream, Erica?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, just that term, like, you can see how we might frequently use it as a way to scold children. You know? Oh, you're just daydreaming.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe it turns out it's the most important thing we should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, exactly, mentioned that exact thing in a yoga class just last week. Exactly, following on from your book, inspired by your book, to say daydream. It's like contrary to what your school teachers taught you. Like actually, daydream. And then I think.
And look at sports psychology. The Olympians of today spend a lot of time visualizing their success, right? Why can't we?
Totally, exactly. And that key component, sort of, you know, like you just referred to before, is that following it down the path. I usually talk about it in terms of like, how do you want to, why do you want the thing? Like you said, is it the farm in Gloucester, or is it just trees, or is it that something? And in terms of, I often say, like, how do I actually want to feel today? Like, and just focus on that. And that's the whole letting the details take care of itself. Hey, it's like even just that simple every morning going, stop for starters, do not pick up the phone, like, and how do I want to feel today? And just that time, like you said, daydreaming. All right, so daydreaming, that's the homework for everyone. Allowing some daydreaming. Cool. Any last words, Josh?
You know, I think you just go back to nature. Go back to the examples that are being set by the creatures around you. Go to the birds. We elevate ourselves to this hoity-toity position, and it's great. And there's a purpose behind becoming a human. But have a look at the way a creature works, or even a tree. You know, a plant. You know, it's persistent, always going towards the sun. Look at how that relates to yoga, sun salutations. Turns out it's very, very universal.
And persistence. I love that you use that word. It's like it does just take some persistence sometimes.
It's easy. It becomes, rather than becoming a discipline or a practice or like an exertion or something you've got to commit to and make a big deal out of it. If we figure it out right, it'll become pleasurable. Along the way to it becoming pleasurable, you will inevitably come up against beliefs, habits, whether they're internally held beliefs, self-identity specifics, or frequently societally imposed ideas and rules and paradigms that you might need to be willing to let go of or to change. Well, that's okay. And if we all do that, then we'll all improve our society. We'll evolve as a culture to allow this sort of thing to happen more easily. And even look at the way like 20-year-olds behave in the world a lot of the time. It's very, very nice to be a yoga teacher and to see people in their early 20s and to see how much society has actually progressed. There's a lot to be very, very hopeful for.
Totally agree. God, thank you so much. I love your positive attitude and again, not in that toxic positivity way, like very practical, but you're so light. And it's like, because I think sometimes we do really get in the habit of like, oh, it's all difficult, this and that and the other. So I agree. We got to find the way that society has progressed. Like you said, the young folk are figuring it out. It's like, let's allow ourselves to as well and keep moving and have conversations like this. That's such a good thing.
Indeed.
So great. I love that you have like a piece of grass. It feels like a bit of hay in your hand, like you need it, to be chewing on it with a big 10-gallon hat on too.
I didn't.
Perfect.
I just followed an impulse. I just picked it up and started twirling it around, That was my highest desire for today.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, love. Thank you so much, Josh. Spirit of the matter. If you do not have it, I'll put a link.
Thank you, Erica. I really appreciate it.
It's so amazing. So great. Thanks, Josh. Love you. See you at class.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
See ya. Bye.
See you next week.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. See ya.